Hello everyone, so I finally finished playing Guardians of the Galaxy, the new game by Eidos Montreal on my PS5. So didn't do it PC, didn't do it Xbox, went to the PS5 for this time because that was actually the first game I was able to play on it. So I wanted to test it out, got it on there. The main campaign took me about 15 hours to complete, and I've done some side stuff, so I maybe have around 20 hours in this game. But yes, this is separate from the MCU, so it does its own thing, it does its own story. It definitely draws a lot of inspiration from the comic books and like the original ones done in around 2008, I believe, if I have my dates right here. Follows that storyline. So without further ado, let me get into my review for the new Guardians of the Galaxy video game. So right when this game was announced at Square Enix's press conference at E3, I was a little nervous just because it had the Square Enix attachment to it, and I was nervous. I did not enjoy the Avengers game that came out last year. I do have to say that this is the furthest thing, gameplay wise, story wise, everything from that game, and I was very, very happy with the product that they're able to put out with this Guardians of the Galaxy game. Of course, it follows the cast that we know from the movie, so we have Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot. Mantis makes her way into it as well, and there's a ton of characters from the MCU or that haven't been put in the MCU yet, so from the comics that make their way into this, which for spoiler's sake I won't get into, but there's some really, really awesome characters that have huge ties to the comics and the world building of this game. Basically what the story of this one is it takes place well after the events of the Infinity Saga, and you have, like I said, the team of five just basically still trying to establish the Guardians of the Galaxy heroes for hire, in a sense, job that they want. They have money problems. You definitely see that in the Milano and just all the repairs that needs to be done, but they end up getting a fine for a job that they do, which is the first mission of this game, and the fine comes from the Novacorn. It's 7,000 credits, which is very substantial, so you have to make some money in order to pay this off, and that unravels around this story where you piss off a beast dealer who's basically has an entire galactic army who's coming after you, and also too, when you go to pay off the Novacorn, you realize that they are being brainwashed by some big interdimensional force. So you have one thing trying to destroy the galaxy and one thing solely trying to destroy you, who doesn't care what happens to the galaxy. So the Guardians are definitely put between a rock and a hard place in this game. And the way that the story keeps unfolding, and it is interactive, so you can shape the dialogue and how the story can play out a little bit. And I found that there was very good choices, very great dialogue for you to go through, and just really smart character moments that one could just lead to endgame screens, but really, really fun dialogue and just a great team dynamic where everyone has their chance to shine, whether it be in the combat or just the story. You get to spend a lot of time with these characters and the side characters too. You really get to know everyone's motivation and what they're all about from their time on screen. No one feels wasted or overused in any single sense of both of those words, and I just absolutely loved how they're able to piece the story together. It's just a really fun team that, of course, they hash out their differences all the time, but they always come together and work together and solve everything because they all need each other and they all love each other. And it's just very, very great story about being, well, one, a parent, a friend, a teammates, and even just a family. And it's like, this isn't just from the main story. There's parts where you just able to wander around the world you're in, whether it's nowhere or some very unhospitable planets, or just on the Milano itself, where you can collect things in game and then talk to the characters about it in their rooms on the Milano. It gives you a lot of chances to just really get to know the teammates. You only play as Star-Lord, but like there's just so much from these other characters that you never feel like it's just Star-Lord's story, it's everyone's, and it just does an amazing job, like I said, just showing all these characters to their fullest, whether in every single conversation or whether it be in the combat. Which brings me to the combat of this game, where again, I thought it looked really clunky, but after playing it, one of the smoothest third-person shooters I've ever played. The camera never had an issue with it. Star-Lord just controls absolutely perfectly with his guns, and you have the 4 different fire types that you get in, well, that you see in the movies and the comic books, but of course they spend a lot more time on the lore of these guns and what they mean to Star-Lord and how they adapt to him and his race. You also get a lot of history where it sticks to the comic origin of him, where he's not Ego's son, he's the son of an alien prince. And they're able to have some fun with that, and I think that they will explore that in future games, and I do hope they do that, because playing this was an absolute blast, where, of course, like, you have Star-Lord, and as you progress through the game and get upgrades through combat, so basically the better you are, the more XP you'll get, and you should be able to get every single ability for every single character by the end of this game easily. You have your just basic attacks with the guns, and you can get some combos through skill chains, but if you hold down the left bumper on the PS5 controller, it'll bring up a menu where you again choose between square, triangle, X, circle, all those, and they each have a different ability set to it, where some will increase the rate of Star-Lord's firepower for a little bit, some will drop like grenades, and you always have one like big special ability, which for Star-Lord it'll make you invincible. For Rocket, it's basically like a huge overpowered gun. Drax and Gamora have their special abilities being just like very powerful attacks where they do a lot of damage with their blades and they get in close, where Groot will heal or revive anyone who's been downed on the ground. So that's a very good one to have. And of course they all have their own abilities matched to their character traits and of course their weapons. So you call on that in combat, where you'll be like, hey Gamora, attack this person with this attack. Rocket, you do this. And there's a bit of a cooldown where you can't use their abilities or any of them until like maybe about 20-30 seconds, and then you can use them in combat again. But they all flows very fluidly, and when you don't have to use or basically call upon these abilities, they're just fine in combat themselves. They do a lot of work. You don't feel like you're doing everything. They're smart AI, and they do quite a lot for you. It's definitely not a hard learning curve, but there is a bit of a learning curve to this game. And then once you're able to kind of know what each of these attacks do, it's really great to just and really fun as well to bring them all into combat. And it's just a blast every single time you get into a skirmish or a little firefights, where there's little interactive elements in the game where you'll press triangle and it'll have someone's name. So Drax will be able to throw objects at enemies. Rocket places basically trip mines that blow up if enemies come within the radius. Groot does kind of the same thing, where he's able to destroy roots underneath the ground and send enemies flying into the air. And then Gamora can like cut stuff down and drop on enemies in combat. And of course they also too, in terms of like puzzling, you have to use certain characters to get to certain out of reach places or blow up walls, little things like that. And it's like you have to learn the characters, their abilities, and use that to effectively get from point A to point B or take out enemies. And I just found that it was really fun, like grouping enemies together to basically have Rocket throw his grenade down, do a lot of damage to the enemies. Then I could have Groot shoot up enemies. He has an attack that basically just pushes enemies up into the air, and then Drax has one where if enemies are in the air, he can go and slam them down and creates again another ripple effect, almost like a grenade itself. And it was just really fun chaining all of these together. Well, the same thing too, I'm shooting them with my weapons and doing things like that. And all 4 of Star-Lord's ammo types are just absolutely awesome and very fun to use. And I said, just combat and getting used to it in this game was super fun, and I just can't wait to get back into it when I go replay this game again, because it's just an absolute blast. And it truly feels like you were the Guardians of the Galaxy. They did an amazing job taking all those origins and abilities from the comics and throwing them into this game. I just love too how like comic booky this all felt in terms of the art style, the voice acting, everything. It was just absolutely great. The voice acting, everyone kills their parts and nails it. My favorites were Rocket, of course. Star-Lord does a great job, and I also really like the performance from Mantis. I thought she was absolutely hilarious. There's another character, again, for spoiler's sake, I don't want to name drop who this character is, but he did a fantastic job, and you meet him about kind of at the 3/4 of the way into the game. And yeah, they just did an amazing job with this character, and I can't wait for them to bring in more characters in sequels, because the same thing too, the art style of this was so cool. It's basically like you step into the comic book itself in terms of the art style and everything. It's absolutely beautiful. There's amazing creatures, huge vast worlds for you to explore that are just as dangerous as the enemies that you're fighting on them, and just going from planet to planet was so much fun. They did an amazing job with Nowhere too, just having all the shops in it where Again, they did an amazing job with that in the movie, but it's just being able to walk through it in this game. Everything is so detailed. One of the most detailed games I've really played in the last little while, where from miles and miles away you see all the scales on these big flying whale creatures, and it's just nowhere being as alive of a city as it is, Nova Corps being in their ships, just seeing everything move and have all the armor sets moving around, and being able to interact with terminals and get info on characters like Richard Rider and just characters from the comics that just build up the lore of the story was so cool, and it just made me want to explore everything. And of course it's worthwhile too, just with the upgrade system that this game has, where you'll find components on the ground and you use these to upgrade your weapons, upgrade your shields, do little things like that for your characters. And also too, if you do a little bit of exploring, you'll find alternative costumes for your characters that could be their outfits from the Marvel movies or from certain comics that have like certain variants and issues like that. So I just found it was really fun and worthwhile to explore, to get the components to upgrade your abilities in game, and of course to just find like little fun cosmetic things to attach to your characters. But yeah, from everything down to the graphical style to the combat of this game, it's so much fun. There are a few hitches that you'll run into where I did have one game crash that wasn't too bad, and the checkpoints in this game aren't too bad either. Some of them I find are a little far unforgiving for what they truly are, but it's not that bad. But I found there's a few times where the animations can seem a little bit wonky, like in a cutscene I had where Gamora was walking away from me, and like half her, when she was walking upstairs, and like half her body would move and the other half would move, so she was like stretching out. And I thought that was kind of weird to sometimes rockets will like kind of fly across the screen in certain areas where you're supposed to be on all fours running, but you're just kind of like levitating in the air a little bit. So there's just like little weird animation glitches like that, but that's all you're gonna run into. Nothing really game breaking except for maybe more crashes, but I only had the one, so not really too many hitches that I ran into. And some of the voice acting isn't as great. Like you definitely have your standouts, but like nothing that I thought was awful or I'm like, ooh, that was terribly delivered, or nothing like that. It's just very fun, and this game can get super weird, but it's in the weird from the comic books that I absolutely love the source material that they're drawing from. And of course what they put in this game sometimes would never work in a live action movie, so I think some people might not realize how crazy the Guardians get up to in their intergalactic travels, and that might off-put some people, but I really loved it. It definitely stuck true to the home that I know in the Guardians lore, and I absolutely love that. So with all this taken together, I had a blast with Guardians of the Galaxy. It was one of the best games that I played all year. It's epic, it's amazing. All the music that kicks in this game is absolutely fantastic. Just having the little rants and speeches that you can do to upgrade your characters, basically strength and damage in fights, the little huddles that you do are so fun, and it's just so true to everything that I know as Guardians, and I can't wait for sequels. So that's why I'm giving Guardians of the Galaxy a 9 out of 10. Highly recommend it. I don't know how it plays on PC or anything, but on PS5, so much recommended. It's just such a fun game, so true to the lore, so true to the goofy, amazing, quirky characters, and like I said, it's so badass and one of the best games that I've played all year so far. So definitely pick this one up for yourselves. It is so awesome. So if you played Guardians of the Galaxy, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below, which characters you want to see in sequels of this game, because I really hope that we do get them. Just a fantastic, super fun game. And if you like this review, definitely give it a thumbs up, and you can check out all the other reviews and everything I do on this channel through the playlist down below, and I'll link them up top here. Subscribe to the little ringer if you want to know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do live stream and Twitch wise, there's a link in the bio of this video and on my channel to my Twitch. And in both of those places, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord, where we talk about video games, movies, comic books, TV, music, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, help make it even more amazing than it is already. But yes, go get yourself Guardians of the Galaxy, jam out to the amazing music and combat that they have in this game, and just awesome, guys.